Christianity. Christianity presents a wide spectrum of views on war and peace. Jesus Christ's teachings in the New Testament emphasize nonviolence, forgiveness, and loving one's enemies. The Sermon on the Mount urges followers to turn the other cheek and bless those who persecute them. Early Christians were predominantly pacifist, avoiding military service and violence. However, as Christianity became integrated with state power, figures like St. Augustine and Thomas Aquinas developed the just war theory. This theory permits war only if it's a last resort, declared by a rightful authority, and waged for a just cause. Many Christian denominations today uphold peace as a core value, but allow for self-defense. The Crusades and other historical conflicts have complicated Christianity's relationship with war. Modern Christian leaders, including popes and theologians, often advocate for diplomacy, reconciliation, and global peace. Despite varying views, peace remains a central tenet of Christian teaching. Islam. Islam upholds peace as a foundational value, with the word Islam itself derived from salam, meaning peace. The Quran encourages believers to seek peace and avoid aggression, but it also permits self-defense under strict moral guidelines. The concept of jihad is often misunderstood. It primarily refers to personal spiritual struggle, though it can include armed struggle in defense. Warfare in Islam is subject to ethical rules. Non-combatants, women, children, and the environment must not be harmed. The Prophet Muhammad often chose peaceful resolutions when possible, including treaties like the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. Offensive wars for conquest are not endorsed, and peace is always preferable if the enemy seeks it. Throughout history, Muslim empires have engaged in warfare, but also contributed to diplomacy and coexistence. Islamic scholars have long debated the conditions for legitimate war. Today, many Muslims advocate for peace-building, especially in interfaith contexts. Ultimately, Islam sees peace as a divine objective achieved through justice and compassion. Judaism. Judaism regards peace as a divine blessing and ultimate goal, embodied in the word shalom. The Hebrew Bible recounts numerous wars, especially during the early history of Israel, some believed to be divinely commanded. However, post-biblical Judaism and rabbinic teachings place a strong emphasis on the sanctity of life and the pursuit of peace. The Talmud teaches that peace is one of God's names and should be sought above all else. Jewish law mandates offering peace before engaging in war and setting clear rules for ethical conduct in battle. There is a distinction in Jewish law between obligatory wars, milchemet mitzvah, and discretionary wars, milchemet rishut, with the latter requiring communal approval. After centuries of exile and persecution, Jewish communities focused on survival and coexistence rather than conquest. The modern state of Israel, though rooted in Jewish identity, separates its military policies from religious doctrine. Many Jewish organizations worldwide work toward peace, reconciliation, and interfaith dialogue. In essence, Judaism values peace as a sacred pursuit, even in a world where conflict sometimes arises. Hinduism. Hinduism teaches that peace and nonviolence, or ahimsa, are among the highest virtues. The concept of dharma, righteous duty, plays a central role in decisions about war and peace. The Bhagavad Gita, a key Hindu text, presents a moral dilemma where Arjuna is instructed by Krishna to fight in a just war. This illustrates that war can be acceptable if it upholds justice and prevents greater harm. Yet many Hindu teachings and sages, like Mahatma Gandhi, have emphasized strict nonviolence. Hindu epics depict both violent and peaceful paths, showing the complexity of moral decisions. Violence must never be driven by hatred or selfishness, but only by duty and compassion. Hindu rituals often include prayers for global peace, or shanti. While Hinduism recognizes the necessity of battle in certain situations, it always aims to restore cosmic balance. At its core, Hinduism seeks harmony between all beings in the universe. Buddhism. Buddhism strongly emphasizes nonviolence, compassion, and inner peace as central values. The first precept forbids harming any living being, including in war. The Buddha taught that hatred is never conquered by hatred, but by love alone. Buddhist texts and monastic codes discourage participation in military actions. However, in history, some Buddhist majority nations have engaged in war, often justifying it as a means of protection. Some Buddhist schools allow rulers to use force in defense, while encouraging personal nonviolence for practitioners. Zen Buddhism and others have occasionally aligned with military regimes, though this remains controversial. Meditation and mindfulness are tools to cultivate peace within, which radiates outward into society. Monks and nuns often serve as symbols of peace and resistance in times of conflict. Ultimately, Buddhism envisions a peaceful world free from suffering through spiritual awakening and ethical living. Sikhism. Sikhism combines a deep respect for peace with a duty to defend the oppressed. Guru Nanak, the founder of Sikhism, preached against violence and emphasized universal brotherhood. However, later Sikh gurus, especially Guru Gobind Singh, taught that when peaceful methods fail, it is righteous to take up arms. The concept of Sant Sipahi, Saint Soldier, encourages Sikhs to be both spiritually disciplined and ready to fight for justice. Sikhism forbids violence for personal gain or revenge, but honors those who die protecting others. The Khalsa, the community of initiated Sikhs, was formed partly to defend against tyranny and religious persecution. Sikh scriptures like the Guru Granth Sahib promote peace, truth, and service to humanity. Still, martial imagery and self-defense are integral to Sikh history and identity. Today, Sikhs often advocate for peace and social justice, while maintaining their readiness to resist injustice. For Sikhs, true peace is maintained through both compassion and courage. Taoism. Taoism values harmony with nature, balance, and living in accordance with the Tao, or the Way. It generally discourages war and conflict, viewing them as disruptions of the natural order. The Tao Te Ching teaches that the best leaders avoid war and only use force when absolutely necessary. Even then, they should show humility and sorrow, not pride and victory. Taoist philosophy holds that true strength lies in flexibility, patience, and yielding rather than aggression. Peace is achieved by flowing with the Tao and letting go of ego and control. War, when inevitable, should be brief and followed by restoration and reflection. Taoism's focus on internal cultivation leads to external peace. While not strictly pacifist, Taoism discourages the glorification of violence or power. In essence, Taoism promotes peace through simplicity, inner stillness, and alignment with nature. Shinto, the indigenous religion of Japan, places emphasis on purity, harmony, and reverence for nature and ancestors. It does not have a central scripture with ethical teachings on war, but its practices promote peace within the community. Traditional Shinto views conflict as a source of spiritual pollution, which requires purification. Historically, Shinto was merged with state ideologies that promoted militarism, especially during World War II. However, this was a political use of Shinto rather than a reflection of its spiritual essence. Post-war Shinto practices have focused more on peace rituals, commemorations, and honoring the dead. Shrines like Hiroshima's Gokoku Shrine now serve as symbols of remembrance and peace. Shinto ceremonies often include prayers for national and global harmony. Nature, central to Shinto belief, thrives best in peace and balance. Though Shinto lacks a formal doctrine on war, its values align with maintaining harmony and spiritual cleanliness. Zoroastrianism. Zoroastrianism teaches a cosmic struggle between good, Ahura Mazda, and evil, Angra Mainyu. Humans are called to actively support the side of good through truth, righteousness, and constructive actions. While not inherently pacifist, Zoroastrianism sees war as a moral battle, not just a physical one. Violence is only justified when fighting to defend truth and oppose tyranny. Ethical conduct during conflict is essential, and cruelty is condemned. Peace is considered an aspect of Asha, the divine order that brings harmony to creation. Fire, a sacred element in Zoroastrianism, symbolizes purity and peaceful strength. Historically, Persian empires practiced religious tolerance, a reflection of Zoroastrian values. The ultimate goal is a world free of evil, where peace prevails eternally. Zoroastrians are encouraged to be warriors for good, but not aggressors. Jainism. Jainism is one of the most strictly non-violent religions in the world. The principle of ahimsa, or non-harm, is the foundation of Jain ethics. Jains avoid harming any living being, even insects, and extend this to their thoughts, words, and actions. War is absolutely forbidden in Jainism, regardless of cause or circumstance. Jains do not serve in military roles and promote total pacifism. Violence is seen as a cause of karma, which hinders spiritual liberation. Historically, Jain communities have practiced complete neutrality during conflicts. Jain monks and nuns go to great lengths to avoid harm, even sweeping the ground in front of them to protect tiny creatures. Peace is not only a moral choice, but a spiritual necessity. Jainism envisions a world where all beings coexist without fear or violence. Confucianism. Confucianism emphasizes social harmony, ethical leadership, and moral self-cultivation. While it does not outright forbid war, it views it as a failure of virtue and governance. The ideal ruler maintains peace through moral example and benevolence, not force. Confucius believed that war may be necessary when restoring order or protecting the innocent. However, he warned against cruelty, ambition, and the glorification of violence. The Analects stress that good governance eliminates the need for war. Ritual, respect, and filial piety create a stable and peaceful society. Peace is a reflection of a well-ordered state and virtuous people. Confucianism has influenced East Asian views on diplomacy, often favoring negotiation over conflict. In essence, peace arises from proper relationships and moral order. Baha'i Faith. The Baha'i Faith strongly emphasizes the unity of humanity and the necessity of global peace. It teaches that war is a destructive force that hinders humanity's spiritual and material progress. Baha'is believe that true peace can only be achieved through justice, unity, and the elimination of prejudice. While self-defense is permitted, aggression is strongly condemned. The Baha'i writings promote collective security, urging nations to work together to prevent war. Baha'is support the establishment of a world federation to ensure peace and uphold human rights. Baha'u'llah, the founder, called for disarmament and reconciliation between nations. Peace is seen not just as the absence of war, but as the presence of love, cooperation, and spiritual maturity. Baha'is actively participate in peace-building efforts worldwide. For the Baha'i Faith, peace is the ultimate expression of God's will for humanity. If you liked this video, you won't want to miss our next one. 25 interesting facts about Catholicism. From ancient traditions to surprising modern-day practices, it's packed with insights that might just change the way you see the church. Whether you're Catholic or just curious, there's something in it for everyone. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss it.